Gather round the flickering candlelight and prepare to cross the veil. Each week on the Boocifer Séance, your ghostly guides, Mrs. and Mr. Booth, summon a chilling new tale from the other side. From haunted mansions and cursed forests to restless spirits with unfinished business, this spectral duo dives deep into spine-tingling ghost stories that will haunt your dreams. Whether it's a forgotten legend or a real-life haunting, no story is too eerie for the booze to conjure. So light a candle, clutch your blanket tight, and dare to join the seance, because once you listen, something might just follow you home. Enter, if you dare.
Video discusses difficult and potentially distressing themes. If you are sensitive to this material, please proceed with caution. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, hello. Welcome to episode 2 of season 3. Let's go.
Hello.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm excited. Mr. Boo's not so excited.
I am present. Present.
Present arms. This is not a one. Mr. Boo's not a fan of like gore and stuff. If it was paranormal something, he'd be all let me take it. Got this, boss.
I would say I watched a video about it, and it's really not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
But a lot of the stuff we're not going to be able to show on Twitch, YouTube. So if you are a member of our Patreon, we're going to put some of the crime photos and the stuff you know about on the Patreon. So if you're missing out on the gore and disgusting part of it, it will be on the Patreon. So please check out the Patreon. Mr. Boo,
Yes.
we have not done this in a while. How has your week been?
Bro. The weight of adulthood is heavy on thy soul. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Has your week been?
Well, we're married, so your
Pretty
weight.
similar.
Yep, your weight has been my weight, and I'd say my weight has been your weight. As any married couple experience. But like, on the side of the podcast, I stream, so stream has made it better. And then seeing you guys make it better.
Yes. I have been sick. I had a very bad bout with strep. I think it was something more, but doctor called it strep. It was rough. I am just now starting to be able to taste correctly after having an ungodly amount of penicillin in my body. But yeah, it's been okay. Sold 96 plates of barbecue this morning, so that was a success.
It was very good barbecue.
All right, let's get this shit out of the way. I am not looking forward to this, so all right, you want me to start with my story?
Yes. You're
Okay.
very grabbing stories.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go, chat. Excuse me. The scariest stories don't always begin with violence. Sometimes they begin with a quiet house, a small town, a person no one really notices. Ed Gein wasn't a man feared, at least not at first. He lived in Plainfield, a place where life moved slowly, where neighbors knew each other, where nothing truly terrible was supposed to happen. And if you asked around, people would have described him the same way. Quiet, awkward, and maybe a little off, but certainly harmless. The kind of person you don't think about twice. And that's where the story starts to settle in, because nothing about him on the surface demands your attention. No dramatic warning signs, No clear moment where everything goes wrong, just a life that slowly narrowed. He grew up under the control of a deeply strict and religious mother, someone who didn't just raise him, but shaped the way he saw the world. She taught him that the outside world was corrupt, that people, especially women, were dangerous, that sin was everywhere. And over time, that voice became the only one that mattered. Friends didn't stick, relationships didn't form. The world outside that home became distant, unfamiliar, and almost unreal. Until eventually, there wasn't much left except for her. And when she died, something didn't just break, it disappeared. The structure, the identity, the one thing anchoring him to reality. Imagine living your entire life with one voice guiding your every thought, your every belief, your every sense of right and wrong, and then one day, it's gone. Silence. Not peace, not closure, just absence. And in that absence, something begins to take shape. Not all at once, not in a way anyone could easily see, but slowly, quietly, the line between memory and reality begins to blur. The past doesn't stay in the past. The person he lost doesn't stay gone. And the world he was never taught to understand becomes something he can't navigate anymore. So he turns inward, further and further, until the version of reality he's living in no longer matches the one everyone else sees. That's what makes this story different. Because when we talk about monsters, we like to imagine something obvious, something external, something we can point to and say that's where the danger is. But this is something that formed over time, in isolation, in silence, in a mind that was never given the tools to exist on its own. And by the time anyone realized something was wrong, it wasn't something that had just appeared. It wasn't something that had been building for years, hidden behind normal conversations, small town routines, and a man no one thought to look twice at. Tonight, we're not just talking about what Ed Gein did, we're stepping into who he was. Because sometimes, understanding the person is far more unsettling than understanding the crime. And once you start looking at it that way, the question changes. It's not just how did this happen, it becomes how did no one see it coming? Dun dun.
Dun, 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 dun. You need that. What is it? The NCIS. Law and Order. Dun dun
Dun dun.
dun dun. Oh well, Mr.
All right, Miss Boo, you're pulling the weight.
Yep, I'm pulling the weight. Mr. Boo was the one who told you who Ed Gein was. I'm gonna tell you the crazy shit he did. All right, so let me bring you back to um. Let me bring you back to 1954, Plainfield, Wisconsin. We're going to a local tavern. The owner was Mary Hogan. She was busy cleaning while only one person was left in the bar. The man reaches into his pocket and, like any other bar stores, shoots her. Next morning, the bar owner was nowhere to be found. This one murder inspired countless horror films. In charge of finding Mary Hogan was Sheriff Harold Thompson. His nickname was Topper. He was known as a tough son of a bitch. He was a father of 12 children, a veteran peacekeeper, and was only a temporary sheriff at the time. He was used to settling misdemeanors and disputes. So this violent crime was really out of his jurisdiction, or not out of jurisdiction, but out of his realm of expertise, especially in a small town like Plainfield. When he arrived at the scene, he immediately saw bloody signs of violent struggle, an empty cash box on the counter, and a body missing. There was one single bullet casing found, a coffee mug found upside down with a bloody fingerprint. Was it the killer's? Uh, there were bloody marks dragging towards the back door, which led outside, and that's where it ends, with a set of tire tracks. His thought, kidnapping or killing. He couldn't be sure because there was no body. Witness statements say Mary locked up at about 4:30 p.m. Um, Evidence shows she obviously came back later and let the attacker inside. So maybe she knew him. Maybe it was someone she was close with. So Topper calls the crime lab in Madison to inspect the scene because of their lack of experience in the matter, which I did learn that a lot of small town police will do that, I guess, if they're not really equipped to deal with situations like that. So with that starts a list of suspects. But Mary had no known enemies. Mary Hogan, twice divorced, moved from Chicago to Plainfield, believed to have managed a big city brothel, even believed that she had ties to the mob. So Toppers thought maybe it was a mob hit. Theory was Plainfield is a small community, so everyone knows everyone. So the problem with the mob theory is that they would have noticed a pinstriped homie walking with a Tommy gun. So couldn't have been that. Suspect number 1 was the town oddball and tavern regular, Ed Gein. Ed Gein at that time was 48 years old. He had a tough upbringing. His father was an abusive alcoholic. His mother, Augusta, was an obsessively puritanical woman. I think I'm saying that word right. She's very religious. She railed both her sons about the pleasures of the flesh and kept both of them at arm's length. This behavior was what made Ed crave her attention more. So that made him very awkward towards women. So everyone considered him harmless in the town. And he was, prior to this, involved in a bizarre incident. A decade before, Ed and Henry Gein went out to clear some dry overgrowth from an area close to home. They set a patch of grass on fire, and the wind sped up, making things get wild. They try to get it under control. The fire finally goes out. About 4 hours later, Ed goes into the field alone and asks the neighbor to help find his brother, but then guides the neighbor straight to his brother's motionless body. Henry's body had no signs of burns, mysterious head bruises. Ed said he probably fell and hit his head on a rock. No proof, so they pretty much had to believe his story. Yeah. So, already, he possibly murdered his brother, and they're like, nah, this Ed, he couldn't have done that, you know?
And I'll add something. So, something I learned, but the ME also determined that his brother died of a heart attack. So that's why there's a little bit of confusion and not necessarily blaming him right away, because the ME's theory is he had a heart attack trying to fight the fire, fell, hit his head. Obviously, people think other, but the ME did confirm that he had a heart attack at some point during putting out the fire or the altercation with Ed.
Yeah. Because how many people say, I need your help finding my missing person, and then lead you directly to said missing person? I don't know many. So the town folk quickly dismissed Ed because of his willingness to help. He always did odd jobs for people. He chopped wood and pretty much he did whatever it takes to lend a hand. So when people heard that Mary Hogan was missing and he was the first first suspect. They were like, no, it couldn't have been Ed. He's great. He's a great guy. He would even babysit. He was better with kids due to him being socially undeveloped. But around that, I like to call him Topper. I don't know why I have yet to call him Sheriff, but the sheriff at the time noticed that there were also 3 other missing persons, all about 2 hours of Plainfield. Case 1 was Georgia. Hold on. Do you have a slide for that one? Okay. So there was Georgia Weckler, age 8. She's missing during the daylight. She was walking about a half mile from school when they noticed she was missing. Case 2, Victor Travis. He's about 42. Ray Burgess. They don't say how old he was. But they were both went hunting for deer. No car, no them. So they were also missing. Case 3 is Evelyn Hartley. She was a teen. She was babysitting and just one stop was missing. One shoe was missing. Blood and drag marks were at the scene. So days and weeks of searching led to nothing. Apparently in case 1, the Georgia Reckler one, a witness claims he saw a young girl in the back seat pleading to go home and a man shoving her down out of sight, and the car was gone. And if one man did all this, he clearly has no method, no motive, because none of the cases matched. So that was Topper's first thought. He has no motive, no method, so it was hard to catch, I guess back then, to really catch a criminal if you don't have anything that leads. Topper first went after the killer's car using tire tracks. He would literally go farm by farm. Either the killer was gone or he was good at covering up. And back then they had limited resources, so he literally went out, took a ruler, and measured to see if it was the right tire tracks. During this time, fresh coffined up bodies were starting to be dug up and parts were being taken. Then the rest was being buried back. So they would we all know, Ed would take a freaking arm, or he would take a finger, a head. They all were freshly buried. So nobody noticed this going on for years. But this was all going on while all the people were missing. He was a selective thief, so sometimes they were whole bodies, sometimes they were arms, legs, even a head. They were all middle-aged women, and it went unnoticed for years. 3 years after Mary Hogan's disappearance, there was a new sheriff. We bring in Art Chalet, I believe his last name is. Late one morning, Bernice Warden was checking inventory with her son Frank when Ed Gein shows up. Gein invites Bernice to go roller skating, like he had asked her many times before. And her answer is always no. This time he turns to Frank to see if he is still going deer hunting tomorrow. Frank says, crack of dawn, can't miss that. Ed says that he will need a gallon of antifreeze, but he'll get it tomorrow. So around 4 a.m. the next day, Frank, or I think 4 p.m. They never really say, they just say around 4.
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Okay. The next day, Frank calls Sheriff Art in a panic, telling him he needs to come down to the store right now, that something has happened to his mother and he thinks he knows who is responsible. Ed Gein. Sheriff Art enters the store and it seems similar to the Mary Hogan disappearance. Frank told Art when he got back from deer hunting, his mother was gone, registered missing rifle for sale had a spent cartridge still inside it. Sheriff Art sees the bloody streaks on the shop floor showing that she was dragged away. Frank shows Art a sales receipt for antifreeze for Ed Gein made that morning. Dun 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 dun. So Art's theory, as he's putting this together, he said Frank's out hunting all morning. Ed tells Bernice he needs so Ed comes in the morning to go get his antifreeze. She gets him his antifreeze, but then Ed is like, boom, Bernice, I need 4 penny nails, which she keeps in the back. So Bernice goes to the back. Ed goes around the counter to get the rifles that they keep up behind the counter before she comes back. Ed loads it with the bullet he brought from home. So proving this was premeditated, he thought this through. Because they didn't display ammo in the shop. Ed, seething with anger, shoots Bernice and then drags her. I mean, where? We don't know the where yet. And then he removes the register to kind of confuse the crime and make it seem like it's a robbery. So in Art's mind, he's like, is Gein really a monster in plain sight? Are these crimes connected? Sheriff Art and partner Dan Chase hunt for Ed. They find Ed outside of a neighbor's home. One officer asks Ed what he's been doing today. Ed, he pretty much chokes and he's like, I was out in the field helping and yada yada. They do like any cop trick does, and they asked him to repeat what he said. And Ed couldn't. The facts didn't match the second time he said what he was doing. So then they really start to grill him. And then at that point, Gein just snaps. Perhaps from the years of guilt or the sheer evil just finally burst out. He yells he was framed by Miss Warden, asking the police, she's dead, isn't she? They didn't say that. They didn't say anything was wrong with Miss Warden. They just asked him where he was at. So he was arrested on the spot. Gein in custody. Sheriff Art and Dan search Gein's family farm. He's got like 95 acres. It's a secluded property 9 miles from town. So Bernice could be anywhere. Ed's home's believed. Ed's home was believed by the local kids that it was haunted by an evil spirit. So first they checked the shed behind the home, which just had a lock on, or like a little latch on it. So Sheriff Art kicks it in. Probably instantly regretted that after he kicked it in. So they start searching the shed. As Art is searching the shed, he feels something firm brush against his back and heavy. And he turns around. It's a human body hanging from the ceiling. And turns out it's Bernice Warden. She's upside down, beheaded, and split down the middle like a deer butchered after a hunt. So if you have the Patreon, you'll probably be able to see what that looks like if you don't know. Art said it was the most horrific scene he has ever experienced. He quickly runs out of the shed and just throws up. I mean, you can imagine seeing that for yourself and probably throwing up or probably not going back in it. He said clearly this is not a crime of passion. Her feet were spread apart on a bar, hoisted up by a block and tackled. Her hands were tied to her side. She was open from stern all the way down to her pelvic bone. All internal organs were gone and no head. So they didn't know it was her at first. But clearly he had done this before. So at this point, they now go inside the home where more of Ed's trophies from his victims are found. Parts of bodies, women's skulls, and under a burlap sack, they find Mary Hogan's face, pretty much turned into a mask. Ed's greatest trophy, he has propped up in a dusty, cluttered room. Sheriff Art finds a full body garment Gein had sewn from human skin. Ugh. It was said that he had wore this suit to become female, because he was so fixated on his mother that after her death, Ed believed he had the power to will her back to life and recreate her in himself. So he would dance in the moonlight in real feminine skin, boobs, even vagina, trying to become his mother. So this made them think his possible motive was to Ed. Augusta, his mother, was a saintly woman, incorruptible, and free of sin. Mary Hogan, Bernice Warden, reminded him of his mother, but in his eyes, they were the opposite. They brought out something in him that his mom pretty much suppressed his whole life. Pretty much Gein's lust. He wanted them, and this went against everything he was raised to believe. It drove him insane, and Sheriff Art couldn't contain his anger after coming back to the station and literally attacks Ed in his cell. Hoping to force Gein to confess, Gein never does. In court, Ed said he killed Bernice by accident, saying the sight of blood makes him faint, and he couldn't recall how she came to be hanging in his home. He said he got the body parts from the local graves and admitted to grave robbing. He was found guilty for murder, but never saw the inside of a cell. He was labeled insane and spent the rest of his life in a mental institution. People of Plainfield were so pissed off that they couldn't get vengeance on Gein, so they went to his home and burned it to the ground. Gein died in the mental hospital 27 years later after his arrest. 27 years after his arrest. Ed Gein has inspired Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, Texas Chain Saw Massacre, Hannibal, Red Dragon, Peacock, Manhunt, and so much other movies. So pretty much his legacy, sadly, has not died. Showing that this whole thing showing you again that monsters are real. They just look like you and I, not like Sully from Monsters Inc. And that
Did you mention that Deputy Frank? That's her son, right? Did you mention that? Did you know that?
I didn't know he was a deputy, but I knew he was.
Yeah. So Frank Warden was the new sheriff's deputy. He's actually, it was her son that found her. You know, him and the sheriff walked in the shed, but it was her son that was there.
Oh, they didn't mention the son on the research either. They just said him and Dan Chase.
Yeah. So Frank Warden was the deputy that he went to get or whatever. Yeah, there's a little bit of, like, depending on which story you read about the day, just because it was 1957, so it wasn't documented great. But like some accounts say they sent a separate. It wasn't the sheriff and warden that went to the house to find Gein. The neighbor's house. So the account that I read, and it doesn't really matter, but the account that I read was that the sheriff and deputy warden went to Gein's house first, and then to look for him, and there was another team of deputies that went to the friend's house and found him eating dinner with them. And while they were there, he told them, on the research I did, told them that uh, Bernice was at the house. And so when they found that out, they arrested him, but they didn't know what was going on at the house that the sheriff and warden had discovered. But either way, I mean, it happened similarly. It's just kind of, I always like to point out the inconsistencies in the reporting. But yeah. Let's see what I had.
Hollywood really, really took it and ran with it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is one of those typical, it's scarier because it's real type thing, like it actually happened. But, it's like a lot of people blame it on the psychological part that, obviously he committed the murders and dug up people's graves and shit. But they said when his mother died, that at the funeral he wailed like a child, like his mind wasn't developed, is what they think. But
I mean, it makes sense with how they described the mom.
and they interviewed a guy on the documentary I was watching that actually lived in Plainfield the time that he was there, and he said you'd have never known. He just, every time you see him, he say good morning. He'd tell you a little joke or a little story, and then go about his day, even while all this was going on. It just wasn't. There wasn't ever anything there to tell them that something was wrong. But
Well, it's your favorite part. I got 3 questions for you. Are you ready? All right. First one. If the police never entered the farmhouse and shed, how long do you think he could have gone unnoticed?
probably a long while. I mean, it was 1957. Like you said, it wasn't like they had security camera footage to look at the corner store. It didn't work like that. I mean, he was sloppy with it, so and there's the mental, he didn't really try to hide it either when they came to question him. Either account, your account, my account, he led them to the house himself. Whether he said a full confession at the neighbor's house or whether he told the sheriff that she's at my house, either way they were going to go check. But could you imagine if he was had the mind of other killers where he actually cleaned up after and she just disappeared, like there wasn't a blood trail, there wasn't a spent cartridge in the gun, like they would have never known. I mean, he lived on a 163-acre farm and nobody suspected him. Nobody other than the son. But, if there was no evidence of her being murdered and they went and interviewed Gein and he would, if he would have pushed back on it more, I don't think that he would have. I think it would have happened, but it would have taken much longer.
Yeah, because I mean, if it happened like this time, they would have been screaming. He didn't have a warrant to go search the house. But Gein would have gotten, because he just kicked the latch in. It was like, it was easy. Next question is: do you think Hollywood made Ed Gein more terrifying or less?
Hmm. I don't know. It's one of those things. I think they kept the story stronger over the years. It's something that would have probably dissipated this long. I mean, I'm sure there'd still be people like us that were still talking about it, but it wouldn't be as widely recognized if it weren't for Hollywood. That's for sure. I mean, they definitely made it a national sensation of movies. You know what I mean? So they not encouraged it, but they encouraged the telling of the story. You know.
Oh, last one for you. What about Ed Gein still feels unanswered to you even after all these years?
I don't know. I feel like so I have a I want to say fascination. That might not be the right word, but I find learning about the criminally insane. So near where we live is pretty far away, but there's a place called Black Mountain, and there's a criminal insane asylum at the top of it, and it's always just something that's interests me. You know, but it's one of those things. It's not just he didn't try to rob the place and she resisted and killed her. It wasn't, it was there's something about him. Yeah, I mean, okay, mom raised him in the house and taught him women were bad and all this stuff, but it feels like there's something missing. They did talk about in the documentary I watched his dad was an alcoholic, but even the dad was controlled by the mom. And I feel like because of the time, because how secluded they were, I think there's more to the mom than just she was a strict Christian and hated women. I think there's more to that story that led him to do these things, not as an excuse, but something's off about it. Like his mind is so juvenile, but what made him think that, like, I don't know, maybe it's just there's something you know, mentally wrong. But still, it just feels like there's an aspect missing with the mom that is more than just, oh, that's the only voice he ever knew, and she was the voice of reason, but she really wasn't. She was the voice of evil. But it's like I feel like there's way more to her story that we'll never know because of how secluded they were. And I feel like because they moved from what was the town they moved from? Uh, what was the town? Hold on. Lacrosse. So she considered her, the story goes that she said Lacrosse was too much of a big city for them to live in, which it really wasn't at the time. Um, I mean, it was 1915 when they moved. So if you look at, let's see, yeah, I mean, significantly bigger than it was 32,000 people, which they say that the town of Plainfield was like 800. It has always been like 800. Um, but it just wasn't something was weird about the reason they moved from Lacrosse to Plainfield. And then I don't know. I just feel like there's more to her that history's not telling us because of the time period, because of the dad died, the brother is either murdered or dead from a heart attack, and there's nobody to tell the rest of the story. I feel like if the brother would have made it out of whatever happened, I feel like this story would be totally not totally different, but bigger. There'd be way more to it. If you could hear from the brother and hear what was going on in that house and the true stories about what their mother told them, other than women are bad, praise God. Like, I don't know. It just feels like there's not enough there.
Yeah, like we'll never know if the brother was also crazy or if it was
Well,
just
they
Ed.
did say that in the documentary I watched, at least. They said that the brother started to question the mom towards the end. How they know that, I don't freaking know. Um, but they said that the brother started to, I think it was letters or something, um, right before the fire occurred, like in the years before the fire occurred, that um, the brother had started to criticize their mother, um, and they think that was motive for Ed to kill him, was because he was pushing back on mom, But to me, that screams that he had a bunch of stuff to tell. You know what I mean? Like if he was the sane one, if you will, like maybe he had more to tell, but we'll never know.
Yeah, he got silenced before he could.
Yep.
Oh, but that's pretty much it with Ed Gein. He did what he did, made clothes. I guess made skin out of skin. Yeah. But if you ever, I think there's a documentary now, about him on Netflix. No, or maybe not a documentary, but I know a show.
Yeah, I think it is kind of like a documentary.
But there's that. There's a comedy, about Ed Gein and his mom. There's movies that all have, I guess, like an essence of Gein, like there's Psycho. Texas Chain Saw Massacre has the guy that sews the skin. What else was there?
So I found an interesting thing real quick.
Yep.
So I was looking through the images. This one isn't bad. It's a picture of the house on fire. This website claims that the reason the house went unnoticed for being burned so long was that it burned the same day that Bernice Warden's funeral was. So while the rest of the town was at her funeral, that's when they lit the house on fire. Which is interesting. Or whoever lit the house on fire.
Oh, it was them. They admitted it.
Yeah, I mean,
They said fuck him, pretty much.
oh, there's old H Farmhouse in the picture. Yeah, and it's weird, like, because the other thing, and I don't know if you talked about it, the other thing, if you look, when I put these pictures on Patreon, the parts of the house that Ed lived and did his things in, the house was disheveled. It was horrible living conditions. There was the documentarian that talked about it said it was almost like reverse the process of throwing away your trash was reversed. He would go to the landfill and bring trash home to the areas where he lived. But did you cover the part where he maintained the rooms like his mother left them? So he
No, I just
boarded
went and
up
said
part of the house. Huh?
I just went and said he went into the graves and brought them back.
So he actually boarded up. There's an image here. I'm gonna send you this one. This one's not bad. Here, I'll just send you the link to it. So if you flip through, you got to click on the related images on the right. I don't know if that one will take you right to the room or not. It's got a rocking chair in the middle of it. But yeah, while she's pulling that up, he boarded up part of the house. Yeah, that's the image there. He boarded up part of the house and maintained certain rooms in the house exactly how his mother left them. So this picture, this is not one of the rooms that he lived in. It also was not one of the rooms that had any of the gruesome things in it. It was just as his mother left it when she died. And the rest of the house is, I mean, just disgusting. There's trash everywhere. And, I mean, it's just horrible. The wallpaper's peeling, the walls are caving in, there's holes in the ceiling. But that room, like a couple others, were just, I mean, that just screams there's something going on in the head, But anyway.
He must have never invited anyone over to his house because
No, he went over to other people's house,
Yeah.
but I mean, nobody went to their house anyway because of the mom. If he ever brought anybody over, she would make them leave and all that stuff. But anyway, that's all I got.
Yup. That's That's it. Definitely gonna watch the documentary because I haven't seen it. I've seen. I need to rewatch all the movies, pretty much, like Psycho and all that, because it's been a while. Kind of brush up on my spooky stuff. But that's it. I think that's it. I don't remember who we're doing next in 2 weeks. Oh, let's say next week. But I think Ed Gein will probably go down. I don't know if he goes down as the most psycho one we've done. I feel like we could probably do. I don't know. I feel like there's worse than Ed Gein. I think eventually.
I don't know. I feel like the cult one was worse. I mean, maybe because of the. I don't know. I just feel like that one was, if not the same. I mean, the part about the postmortem stuff with Ed Gein is creepy in itself, but the Heaven's Gate cult was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think it really like if we do more. I guess like if we do like who else is there? Jeffrey Dahmer. If we do Hannibal, we should probably like eventually do like a tier list of who we think was like in our opinion is worse based on what they've done. Cuz like right now based on what I know about who was it? Ed Gein or not Ed Gein. Jesus. Dahmer, I would say Ed Gein is worse than Dahmer, but that's if you think sewing body is worse than eating a body. I mean, like, they're all shitty people.
Yeah, the lines and definitions of worse get a little bit blurred.
Yeah,
Because you can say what they did, you can say how many people they killed. It depends. But I think the next one or two we need to do some spooky shit, and then we'll come back to the gory shit. I gotta take a break in between those.
yeah. I think next one will be like a paranormal one. So if you guys have any paranormal ones that you want us to do, don't say Area 51. We done that one, of course. But yeah.
Yep, we'll get this up on. We'll get the Patreon up. We'll get the YouTube and Spotify up. Maybe tomorrow, it might be Monday or Tuesday, but I'll try my best. But yeah.
Thank you guys.
As always,
Stay spooky.
stay spooky.